In the heart of the Roaring Twenties, a decade of unprecedented prosperity and cultural upheaval, America embarked on a great and noble experiment. It passed a law to banish alcohol, and in doing so, accidentally created more secret bars than had ever existed before. By the mid-1920s, in New York City alone, it's estimated there were over 30,000 illegal speakeasies, twice the number of legal taverns that had existed before the ban. These were not just bars, they were hidden worlds, oases of defiance in a dry nation. They were the engine of a new culture fueled by jazz, gangsters, and bathtub gin. Join me as we dive into the hidden history of the Prohibition era to find the secrets, the stories, and the legacy of the American speakeasy. To understand the speakeasy, you must first understand the law that gave it life, the 18th Amendment. Ratified in 1919, Prohibition was the culmination of a century-long crusade by the temperance movement. Groups like the Anti-Saloon League argued that alcohol was the root of all social evil, poverty, crime, and domestic abuse. They promised a healthier, more productive, and more virtuous America. On January 17, 1920, the nation officially went dry. Saloons closed their doors, breweries fell silent. The evangelist Billy Sunday held a mock funeral for John Barleycorn and declared, "We will turn our prisons into factories and our jails into storehouses." It would prove to be one of the most spectacularly wrong predictions in American history, because America didn't stop drinking. It just stopped drinking legally. The law created a colossal, nationwide black market for alcohol overnight, and supplying that market required a new level of criminal organization. This was the moment that transformed small-time street gangs into powerful, wealthy, and violent criminal empires. The stage was set, the demand was insatiable, and the profits were astronomical. The only challenge was connecting the seller to the thirsty customer, out of sight of the law. The solution was the speakeasy. The term speakeasy came from the practice of speaking quietly about such places in public or to the bartender so as not to alert the police. Getting in was a ritual of its own. Doorman, muffled. Password? Patron. Gus is feeling unwell. They ranged from squalid blind pigs in back rooms and basements, serving dangerous, rut-gut liquor, to glamorous multi-story supper clubs that became the epicenters of high society. But what were they drinking? With legal production gone, the supply chain was a motley assortment of smuggled liquor and homemade concoctions. Much of it was bathtub gin, raw industrial alcohol, often dangerously impure, diluted with water and flavored with juniper oil and other botanicals to make it palatable. The quality was so poor, it gave rise to a new art form, the cocktail. But beyond the drink, the speakeasy created a revolutionary new social landscape. For the first time, respectable women were drinking in public alongside men. It was the age of the flapper, independent, short-haired, and liberated. And providing the soundtrack to the social revolution was a new, electrifying sound that had migrated from New Orleans: jazz. Of all the speakeasies of the era, few were as famous, as glamorous, and as complex as Harlem's Cotton Club. Owned by the notorious gangster Owney Madden, the Cotton Club was the premier night spot in New York. The clientele was a who's who of the era: politicians, Broadway stars, wealthy industrialists, and rival mobsters, all rubbing shoulders. But the club's fame rested on its spectacular floor shows and its house bands, which featured some of the greatest African-American talent of the 20th century. This was the stage where Duke Ellington pioneered his jungle sound, broadcasting live on the radio to a national audience.
It's where Cab Calloway perfected his hidey-ho routine and became a superstar. Yet the club existed on a stark paradox. It was a whites-only establishment in the heart of a black neighborhood where the greatest black performers in the country created groundbreaking art for an audience that enforced segregation outside the club's walls. While high society partied, a constant cat-and-mouse game was being played. The Treasury Department's Prohibition unit was tasked with enforcing a wildly unpopular law. Its most famous agents were Izzy Einstein and Mo Smith. A pair of masters of disguise, they posed as gravediggers, fishermen, football players, anything to gain entry to a speakeasy and gather evidence. But for every determined agent, there were dozens of corrupt officials. Police officers, judges, and politicians were often on the payroll of the very gangsters they were supposed to be pursuing. Speakeasies developed ingenious methods for hiding their contraband. Secret panels, shelves that would flip at the pull of a lever to dump liquor into the sewer, and bars designed to be dismantled in minutes. The raids made for good headlines, but they were ultimately futile. For every speakeasy that was shut down, another would open its doors the next day. By the early 1930s, it was clear to almost everyone that the noble experiment had failed. It had not reduced crime. It had created organized crime. It had not made America more virtuous. It had turned millions of ordinary citizens into lawbreakers. The final blow was the Great Depression. The government was desperate for the tax revenue that legal alcohol sales would generate. In 1933, the 21st Amendment was ratified, repealing the 18th. Prohibition was over. Across the country, people celebrated openly in the streets. The speakeasies, their purpose now gone, faded back into the shadows. But their legacy was profound. They had pushed jazz music into the American mainstream, forever changed social interactions between men and women, and created the modern cocktail culture. They were a uniquely American invention, born from a peculiar clash of morality and desire. For 13 years, they were the secret heart of the nation, hidden just behind a locked door, waiting for the right knock and the correct password. Have you ever been to a modern speakeasy? Share your favorite hidden bar experiences in the comments below. And for more stories from the Roaring Twenties, be sure to check out our other videos. Thanks for watching.